Imagine an electric vehicle so small that it fits easily in a backpack. No need for imagination, I give you the Begode Mten4. This week we're gonna ride the pocket rocket, the Mten4, and I'm gonna tell you why I think this little wheel is the future of EV.
Don't walk, fly.
Roll the intro. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video and help spread the uni gospel. And I mean that. More likes pleases the almighty Google algorithm and help this video reach a wider audience, help grows the market, fund more wheel development, get us more and better electric unicycles. And the Mten4 is an excellent example of that. It is a niche wheel in an already niche sport, but I really think that people are missing out on what this little guy can actually do. Its ultra compact size and performance really offers a combo that you can't find anywhere else. But first, let me tell you about the Spiral Zone. A 1987 afternoon cartoon about the struggle between the Zone Rider against their arch nemesis, the Black Widows. Like all 80s cartoon, the Spiral Zone was created to sell toys and is filled with cheesy dialogue and terrible animations.
I give the orders, Reaper. They've escaped.
But man, I ate it all up. Especially all the cool mono-wheel vehicle like the Zone Rider Cycle and the Rimfire Cannon. Seriously, a unicycle mounted cannon. I guess in the distant future of 2007, rubber have somehow become a precious commodity, so in the effort of saving some of it, unicycle is the way to go. But surprisingly, the vehicle that made the deepest impression wasn't the bike nor the cannon, but a humble backpack called the Zone Runner. A backpack-mounted motorized vehicle that you can ride was mind-blowing to my 10-year-old self. And I kept looking for more cameo from this amazing gizmo, but it never reappears after the early episodes. Probably because it didn't exactly make for a great toy. Better to sell tots more bikes and tanks. But no matter, I still have been wanting one ever since. And after years of waiting, science and Chinese patent infringement finally achieved what good old American ingenuity was not able to. Even though self-balancing vehicle was technically invented here, the result is this, the Begode Mten4, my very own Zone Runner. First specification, the Mten4 runs on an 11-inch diameter tire and is powered by a 7-inch diameter 1 kilowatt motor with a peak output of 2 kilowatt, about on par with the one-wheel GT and about 10% more than the 900 watt output from the 9-baht Max G2, if you like your comparison in electric scooters. As to the battery, it comes in 3 different configurations, all at 84 volt. Either the 600 watt hour high discharge 40T cells, which give you a little bit more safety margin and headroom when it comes to voltage sag, will allow you to push the wheel just a wee bit more when you're riding it at speed, at the cost of slightly lower capacity as compared to the more standard 750 watt hour 50E cells, which is actually the configuration I have here. There is, of course, the budget option of the 300 watt hour battery pack, but let me just say that for electric unicycle, performance equates to safety margin. So cheaping out on battery capacity is really not a great idea. If you absolutely have to go the cheapest route possible, then I think the Hsiang 14D, which has a larger battery pack and is cheaper, is probably a better choice than a gimped Mten4. But enough with the specification. What does 750 watt hour at 84 volt paired with a 1000 watt motor actually translate to? This is a wheel that can quickly push you up to the very unlikely speed of 25 miles per hour, which is even faster than the one-wheel GT and the 9-bot Max G2. And yes, it will take a lot of practice to maintain stability at that kind of speed, and you do distinctly get the feeling that this wheel isn't designed to be ridden that fast. And size is a huge part of the attraction to the Begode Mten4. It is so small and unassuming that most of the time it wouldn't be recognized as a motorized vehicle, with some caveat. As much as I love to relive my childhood fantasy, the Mten4 does not work that well as a backpack wheel, mostly because it weighs 28 pounds. Not exactly feather light. You're basically walking around with what is equivalent to 2 bowling balls in your backpack. Plus, practically speaking, I don't know if you really want to put a dirty and dusty wheel into your nice backpack. Or do you, you dirty boy, you?
Morty, you dirty little doggy.
But still, its compact size means that it draws a lot less attention and can easily be stashed in even the tiniest of spots. Which means that despite owning several much more capable EUCs, I still do reach for the Mten4 on a pretty regular basis. And the fact that it's actually a surprisingly fun wheel to ride. Electric unicycle torque output increase as the wheel diameter decrease. Shorter distance to the contact patch means better power transfer from the motor, and the 11-inch wheel on the Mten4 is about as small as you'll get on an EUC, which means that despite having only a 1000-watt motor, it is still surprisingly torquey and have pretty impressive acceleration and brake even when compared to electric unicycle that has motor 3 to 4 times its output. At low speed, that is. An important consideration, since once you're past 20 miles per hour and close to the limit of its motor output, you do have to be extremely cautious since you can over-torque this wheel easily at that kind of speed. And similar to a nosedive on a one-wheel, over-torque or cutout is definitely something you want to avoid if you enjoy keeping your collarbones intact. The other reason why the Mten4 is so much fun to ride is because of how agile it is. Smaller diameter wheels and lighter motor means that it has a lot less rolling momentum, and you can literally turn on a dime if you really want. I'm generally pretty terrible when it comes to riding backward, but the Mten4 is so maneuverable that it makes my failing about actually somewhat viable. And it's also one of the few EUCs that can be easily ridden at a walking pace, a surprisingly useful feature, and make it a lot more sidewalk friendly as compared to just about any other EVs. So with its relatively cheaper price and compact size, does the Mten4 make sense for a beginner who is EUC curious? Well, I had poo-pooed the idea in my last video about the Mten4. Hard to make a recommendation when it somehow managed to break itself from just a simple update during my last test. But a year and several iterations later, whatever complaint I may have about Begode, they are pretty good about updating their product to address issues people had encountered. And as a result, I'm a bit more positive about that prospect. So you have to break the act of learning how to ride an electric unicycle into 2 major steps. Step 1 is mounting and dismounting, and step 2 is riding and maintaining balance. With larger wheels, you can stabilize yourself by pushing your knee against the upper part of the wheel. Once you get this balance, you can move on to the next step, which is kickoff, and it's very similar to what you would do with an electric scooter. Plus, I find that some of the difficulty people encounter when it comes to learning how to ride an electric unicycle come from not knowing how to mount and dismount in all kind of conditions. It's sort of like the foundation of learning how to ride. If you know how to stabilize and save yourself when things get sketchy, it makes things a bit easier to do. But the problem with the Mten4 is that it is so small that there's no way for you to actually push against the body of the wheel with your knees. When you try, inevitably your feet sort of slide out, even though I had installed these really grippy aftermarket pedals. I am 5'6" and I can sort of catch the upper part of the wheel with my shin, but it's really hard for you to stabilize yourself without losing your balance. This is why Begode ended up building the A2, which is an electric unicycle sharing the same motor and battery pack and the design of the M104, except that it has a 15-inch diameter wheel and is essentially taller. But I never liked that idea because I feel like it compromises one of the greatest strengths of the M104, its compact size, and also all of those limitations I have described I think could be overcome with a bit more practice and the addition of aftermarket pads to help locking your feet into the wheel. The second part of learning how to ride, balancing and control is actually a bit easier to do on the M104 since you accomplish much of that by adjusting the heading of the wheel. You always want to point the wheel in the direction you're falling to catch yourself, which is easier to do on the M104 with how agile it is. Maintaining stability, on the other hand, is tougher with the M104. There is no denying the fact that you're going to get more stability with a larger diameter wheel. But at the same time, I think there's also certain advantage to learning how to ride on the M104. Similar to my experience learning how to ride on the Begode Z10, the wheel known for its lack of stability, but I actually appreciate that experience because it really helped prepare me to learn to deal with adverse wheel conditions. Rider who starts on larger and more stable wheel also unfortunately have the tendency to push the speed higher before they are really fully prepared to deal with, wobbles or what have you. Wherein for the M104, it's pretty clear where the cap of how fast you can go should be. It does wobble quite a bit, but you get used to it. You just have to kind of relax and ride it out. Pretty impressive for something not much larger than a pair of shoes. Yes, there are some downsides. The M104 is not at all waterproof, so don't even try to ride it when it's wet out. And it is an older Begode wheel, so you won't get the same build quality and integrated design as a wheel from other companies like InMotion or Hsiang or even the newer Begode wheels. And in the end, especially from the perspective of owning and living with an electric unicycle, I think its size and performance really trump its limitations. We live in an age where innovation continues to shrink the size and weight of devices. Electric unicycle, for instance, were only made possible by the size and energy density of lithium-ion battery packs. And with improved battery technology in the near future, I have no doubt that the capability of a wheel like the M104 will continue to improve. And future iteration of this wheel even more compelling as a simple, convenient urban transport that you can take with you wherever you go. So what do you think? Is the small and ultra-compact electric unicycle the future, or would you rather that the EUC companies focus on the fast and the furious? Well, that is what the comment section below is for, and you know what? Once again, I ramble on too long and somehow managed to waste another 15 minutes of your life, but I hope you enjoyed it. Shout out to my supporter on Patreon. Please check out the link in the video description below if you enjoy and like to support my work. And as always, as much as we all love electric unicycle, the only way for us to get better wheel is to grow as a community. So tell your friend, teach them how to ride and get them hooked. Until the next video, thank you.